Hey everybody, it's your boy Captain Hunter coming on you again. Thank you so much for checking out this episode. Really appreciate it. Hey, we're going to jump right into it. We're going to take a look at some news stories. I was going to watch some news stories about what was going on with the Trump unaliving attempt. And so I just said, no, let me record it, get my reaction and all that kind of stuff. So we'll watch some videos and we'll check it out, see what's going on, see what the latest and greatest is. Listen, they are making this man, every single attempt to take this man down, from the court trials to everything else, man, linking him to January 6th. All they're doing is making his legacy stronger and all that. So, I don't know what it is, but I am personally not looking forward to another 4 years of bad speeches and tweets, or whatever they're called now on X. But they're making this man, and for whatever reason, he continues to be Teflon Don. So let's check out these stories here. First one comes from ABC 11, and another one from Texas, and a couple of other stories. So we'll make these kind of short, and we'll see where it goes.
Continuing our team coverage of the breaking news this morning of the assassination attempt on the former president that took place last night.
Josh Einiger in Butler, Pennsylvania, where the situation happened, and he's been there all night. Josh, tell us what it's like on the ground now this morning. What are you seeing in here?
Well, Anthony and Sydney, good morning. As the sun rises, it's sort of hard to really show you the picture of how small and remote this community is. We're north of Pittsburgh in a rural farming community that is waking up basically under lockdown this morning as federal agents crawl over every inch of the fairground that devolved yesterday into chaos and the attempted assassination of a former president of the United States.
The world
wasn't... Yes, it was a former. I haven't seen any of this, so this really is a live reaction. So it really wasn't a former. I don't think they were really trying to assassinate a former president. I think they were trying to assassinate a candidate because they didn't want him going forward. Maybe I'm splitting hairs here, but I think there's a distinction what this guy was trying to do. And I do understand he had some mental illnesses and all that.
We'll see a vibrant Republican Party.
Donald Trump was just minutes into his speech before tens of thousands in this rural Pennsylvania fairground went through the cheers of his followers. Came the popping of gunfire. The former president grabbed at his right ear, then dove to the ground as a swarm of Secret Service agents scrambled to cover him.
Wow.
I heard pound, pound, pop, pop, pop. In everybody's mind, it was like 4th of July. Somebody must have been still doing firecrackers.
A few endless moments later, as panic rippled through the crowd, the agents brought Trump to his feet. Blood now trickling down his face, he raised his fist and mouthed the word, "Fight." They rushed him off the stage to the safety of an armored SUV.
We got down, and we huddled, and we started praying.
The FBI has identified the shooter as 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks of Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, about an hour away. Officials say he perched himself with an AR-style rifle on a roof about 400 feet from the stage where Trump was speaking, and he fired at least 8 rounds before Secret Service counter-snipers returned fire and killed him.
We do not currently have an identified motive, although our investigators are working tirelessly to attempt to identify what that motive was.
I saw the man that was hit in the head, and there was a lot of blood, and I knew there was no way he was going to survive that.
A man in the crowd was killed, 2 others critically injured. Trump was grazed in the ear. "I was shot with a bullet that pierced the upper part of my right ear," he later posted. "I knew immediately that something was wrong and that I heard a whizzing sound, shots, and immediately felt the bullet ripping through the skin. Much bleeding took place," he added, "so I realized then what was happening." After receiving treatment at a local hospital late last night, Trump arrived at Newark Airport, walking down the stairs from his jet on his own power. His motorcade then whisked him to his golf club in Bedminster. President Biden returned to the White House and spoke by phone with the former president. The Biden campaign has pulled all political advertising after the assassination attempt on his rival.
There's no place in America for this kind of violence. It's sick. It's sick. It's one of the reasons why we have to unite this country. We cannot allow for this to be happening. We cannot be like this.
The biggest question right now, of course, is
much longer.
why? Why did this shooter choose?
It won't be his job much longer. And I don't mean that, you know, I'm not for either party, but I can't see him winning this next election.
To attempt to assassinate Donald Trump. Voter rolls here in Pennsylvania say he was registered as a Republican. The investigation, of course, into all of this continues this morning. Also unclear how this happened, how the Secret Service managed to allow him to slip through their very tight security. The director of the Secret Service has already been called to testify on Capitol Hill about this failure. Back to you in Durham.
A lot of unanswered questions there, Josh. One more for you. Do you know, after all the people were cleared from the scene, they had to leave a lot of personal belongings, including possibly some walkers and wheelchairs behind? Do you know if those people have been able to retrieve those belongings?
Walkers and wheelchairs. That's what you care about.
Yeah, Anthony, it's a real mess. As you could imagine, there's all kinds of things left behind. And no, it's a giant crime scene. So people have been told they have to wait to get their belongings. That actually includes the press, camera equipment, all kinds of things that were there as part of this rally have all been frozen as the FBI and the Secret Service work to get to the bottom of all of this.
All right, Josh, thank you.
Yeah, they're going to be looking for, you know, obviously, instrumentalities, maybe receiving talking devices, you know, anything that would connect the shooter to anybody in the crowd and things like that. That's so a lot of investigative type of stuff, taking pictures and where everybody was and located and all that. So, man, he was inches from his life being taken, huh? All right, let's take a look at another YouTube story here.
The FBI is now the lead agency investigating the Trump assassination attempt. The site of that Trump rally this morning, of course, part of a massive crime scene. The question still needing answers: how this happened and what do we know about the person responsible? CBS national correspondent Ross DeMattei is live just outside where that rally happened in Butler, Pennsylvania. Good morning, Ross. Thanks for joining us. Set the scene for us. What's happening there right now?
Sure, Robbie. So we arrived here. This is the Butler Farm Showgrounds, the site of former President Trump's rally yesterday. And we arrived here around 4:30 this morning, and there was a strong state police presence. They're the ones who have maintained the perimeter around the farm showgrounds themselves and haven't let anyone in or out during the overnight hours and now into this morning. So essentially you have a long line of media outlets reporting on the very outskirts of where this rally took place. You can see the giant flag probably behind me. That is a typical backdrop for former President Trump's rallies, that he usually stands on the stage right in front of that and delivers his speech. So that's where the attempted assassination took place. And in terms of law enforcement, we know that the FBI is now leading this investigation. It's hard to say. We haven't personally seen any FBI agents out here, but they don't exactly make themselves apparently known. So we may have seen some without really knowing it. We assume, though, that they are currently leading the investigation on the ground here in Butler because we've seen so many of the elements from the rally yesterday still in place. And that's typical of any crime scene. They try to leave as much of that crime scene intact while they carry out this investigation. And we know this is going to be one of the most analyzed and scrutinized investigations in United States history, considering this was the scene of an attempted assassination on a former president and now a candidate for the presidency again.
Well, Ross, what do we know about the shooter, or have you heard any discussions of a possible motive?
We haven't heard much in terms of a motive. We do know, according to senior law enforcement officials, that they have identified the shooter as this 20-year-old from about an hour south of where we are in Butler, Pennsylvania. Just south of Pittsburgh is where his home is and where he's from. And we know that from that law enforcement official that, again, the FBI has basically gone to the shooter's house, has made contact with his family. They're currently investigating all of his ties, anyone who may have helped him carry out this assassination plot. But again, the big question right now in terms of the shooter is, what is the motive behind this assassination attempt? And also here in Butler, the question is, how was the shooter able to get so close to the former president? We know that he was technically on the outskirts or outside of the secured perimeter for this rally. But again, it's Secret Service's job to clear any potential risks in terms of where shooters could be stationed. And apparently this one got through the cracks. We know that the shooter was able to fire off between 6 and 8 shots at the former president. The big question is how, and that's what this whole investigation is now centered on here in Butler.
Ross?
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. That's definitely interesting. Yeah, certainly an attack on an attempt on this guy's life and all that is definitely a big deal. I want to go to, I just saw this here, so we're going to click on this one. This is a former Secret Service agent who's going to talk about this. And, you know,
let's bring to the conversation Evie Pomporis. She's a former Secret Service agent. Evie, good morning. I want to put up this map of the farm grounds where this event was held last night. So the elevated position where the shooter was set up was about 150 yards from the stage where former President Trump was speaking. As a former Secret Service agent, are you surprised that building wasn't better secured?
So when you do a security plan, you've got the main security, right? The security perimeter where there's the magnetometers, where people are being checked as they're entering the event. You have the outer perimeter, whereas when you have an open rally like this, you are extremely vulnerable. I've done these. They're probably the most anxious you're ever going to be as an agent because you're trying to secure all of it. Now,
I know I'm pausing it right in the middle of her talk here. I don't want to get any kind of strikes, but and I will rewind it just to kind of remind ourselves. But I just want to note, you know, the dedication that these agents take because they are sworn and to put their lives in front of the president. So this guy is catching strays, literally. Well, not strays, but I mean, they're definitely intended for him. I don't know what this guy's doing. Where's he going? But they're definitely meant for him, and they immediately jump on him. So we got to give a lot of credit. I mean, yes, she's talking about some lapses and all that, but let's give these guys some credit because these guys put them, guys and gals. There was a couple of ladies there I saw there. Guys and gals are putting themselves on the line to keep current, former presidents and their family members safe. So I'll rewind it a little bit. We'll keep up what she's saying.
The most anxious you're ever going to be as an agent because you're trying to secure all of it. Event. You have the outer perimeter, whereas when you have an open rally like this, you are extremely vulnerable. I've done these. They're probably the most anxious you're ever going to be as an agent because you're trying to secure all of it. Now, the adjacent buildings, you do this in urban environments, you do this in a rural environment like this. When you do a security plan, you literally put yourself on stage and then you look out as if you were the protectee. What can I see? And if I can see it, it can probably see me. Now, for an outer perimeter like that, typically you will have a local law enforcement presence. You'll notice those buildings, and the Secret Service works with local police. You have to think of the Secret Service like they're the conductor of the orchestra. They create the blueprint and design for the security plan. They work with state police, they work with local police, and then they put in resources and assets.
So in the typical scenario, or in the scenario that one wishes would have unfolded, would you have had perhaps a local official secure that roof to make sure the roof is clear, make sure nobody's in the building, and then stand guard there so no one comes in after that clearing?
So we don't know if they did or did not do this.
Yes, but they should have?
I would presume you should have a local police presence in that area. Now, could you have put somebody on that rooftop? You could have. The other element is the counter sniper team. So as far as we know, we see a 2-man team from the Secret Service side. As we were discussing prior before we started speaking, they are looking at everything. They have to cover 360 degrees. So I know a lot of folks are like, how could they not see this? I think one of the issues is if it is a 2-man team, think about what they are consistently covering. So local law enforcement, definitely, but again, we don't know if somebody was or wasn't positioned. Now, if there was no coverage there whatsoever, that's going to be an issue. Why weren't those adjacent buildings looked at? They are very close, yes.
And if there was somebody stationed there from local law enforcement outside the building where the shooter was, as you consider the possibilities, how could he have gotten up there?
So as I look at this, and again, just from a preliminary assessment without having all the details, it seems to me what I would presume before the president goes up on stage, they secure the area. There's communication. Essentially, are we good to go? Is he good to get up on stage? I would presume that everything was in the clear. I would think that nobody was on that rooftop. What I suspect, and again, I'm suspecting that after he got up on stage, that's when the shooter took position. There's a little bit of a slant at that rooftop. Also, some of the photos show that he's dressed in colors matching that rooftop and building to camouflage a bit himself. So I'm suspecting he took position after President Trump spoke, then engaged.
It's easy in hindsight to say, oh, why wasn't this done or that done? And let's just acknowledge that as we have this conversation. But it is interesting because there were eyewitnesses who said they were actually positioned kind of outside the rally, but were just listening, and that they saw the gunman up with the rifle flying around. They were trying to tell some of the local officials that they saw there. Is there a way to communicate? I mean, these are split-second decisions, but for example, if there had been a state police officer outside on that outer perimeter and someone said, there's a guy up there with a gun, can that message get communicated to Secret Service quickly? Are they all on the same comms?
So really what the issue is, that person that was trying to communicate, were they actually verbally speaking to someone, or were they trying to get somebody's attention? When you're doing these rallies, you're looking at thousands of people. How much law enforcement do you have? Do you have one officer or one law enforcement official to what? 1,000? And are they able to get that person's attention? Guys, at the end of the day, too, and I think this is going to come up during the hearing, resources, money, this all costs something. So when you're doing these security advances, you are negotiating. I mean, there are times where I need 75 agents, and it'll come back. It's like, you know what? We don't have the resources or the funds, or we need these folks to be somewhere else. Can you do it with X amount of people? And it's not just the Secret Service. It's going to be law enforcement. Their resources are tapped as well.
So, Evie, quickly, let's talk about the aftermath of the shooting. We see the agents rush the stage, keep the former president on the ground. Then he stands up. What do you see in those images as he pumps his fist to the crowd, exposes himself again, and then moves toward the car?
They see a man who's making himself. They see a man who's making himself, or he's being made by this. Yeah, so resources definitely a problem, and it obviously is what it is. I wonder, just like the whole JFK thing, are they going to let him do any more outdoor rallies anymore? I wonder if that's going to be an issue.
So if we just break this down as the shooting is happening, we hear the shots being fired, President Trump goes down, he takes cover, and it's also very likely when you look at that banner, there's like this banner around that stage, that tends to be some type of steel that's there by design for an incident like this so that the protectee can hit the ground and take cover. We see the agents come in now from the sides, and their job is, that's the shift, that's what's called the shift. They come in and they are the armor. They're the ones who are literally going to come around. They're going to secure his body. The goal is now, if any additional shots are fired, they take the impact of those shots. They bring him back down. Now you can hear them too. If you're listening to the audio, you can hear them talking on comms. Is it clear? Are we good to go? Because they want to take him from where he's at and they want to move him to the vehicles. Anytime you're open, and if we look at previous assassinations or assassination attempts, Reagan, JFK, just the most recent ones, always outside, right? Always line of sight issues. So they've got him secure. Once they hear the go, you can go. So I'm assuming for them to get the go, somebody probably told them the threat has been neutralized, right? You're not going to move unless you kind of know what's going on. They pick him up, and you can hear the president. It's interesting, just from a human behavior perspective, you hear the president saying, where are my shoes? Where are my shoes? A lot of people are commenting on, is that an odd thing to say? You also have to think about the stress and impact of what just happened. And he's just, it's a kind of like a very human, simple thing to think of.
You can hear on the radio, too, that they say the shooter is down. So clearly they felt that the threat was neutralized and they could safely move. But as an agent, I mean, the president now with this iconic act of defiance, holding up his fist and literally sticking his neck out into the open again. But if you're an agent right then and there, are you just wishing you could just whisk him off to the car?
Well, I saw that, and I can understand why he's doing it from that perspective. But from the other perspective, I'm thinking, we know one shooter is down.
Right.
You don't know if there are other shooters. And then the other thing is when you move him to the vehicles, you want to make sure, does he have any other shots within him, and check him.
Evie, thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Evie.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't.
Yeah, that was definitely important to make sure that there's no other shooters, right? So once you start advancing and moving, getting him up, then somebody else is taking fire. Or popping off rounds to try to get to him. All right, so I'm gonna play this last story. This is a sad day for America. Sky News hosts blast CNN coverage of attempted Trump assassination. So what's the Australian people, what are they saying about this? Sky News from Australia. This will be the last story we'll do.
It is a sad, sad day for America. It is hard to find the words to describe the shock and the horror that people are feeling right now, after many of us were witnessing on live television the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump at a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. This is a devastating day for America, right?
Look at how compacted they are, right? No line of sight to his body, right? Look at that. This is all theory, right? This is all practice, right? No more. Any shots are coming. They're hitting these guys, right? And gal.
Now, people are pouring their hearts out on social media and posting "Pray for Trump." Many of the people I'm speaking with over there are feeling scared about how close this was. Looking at the still images, you can see the bullet that pierced his right ear as he gets up with blood smeared on his face.
Look what happened.
This horrific act has just deepened an already huge divide in the United States of America.
True.
But if you were following media outlets like CNN today, well, you would have thought that Donald Trump had a fall. Look at this headline. Secret Service rushed Trump off stage after he falls at rally. Falls. It was an assassination attempt. He's not Joe Biden that doesn't know how to stand up. And that's not a one-off headline. This morning, I was looking at my phone and I was taking screenshots because even though it's CNN, I still couldn't believe it. The next headline I saw, Trump injured in incident at rally. Incident. That's really what they wanted to go with when the man who's been president before and is running again was just shot. Oh, and there's more. Video captures what happened at Trump rally that left him injured. Ooh, wonder what it could be. CNN is using the video as clickbait while refusing to acknowledge what it is that just occurred, and that is an attempt to murder the man who is running for president, something that has not happened since 1981 when there was an assassination attempt on Republican President Ronald Reagan. I scroll further down CNN's website and I get to analysis, and of course there's this headline, Trump is favoured but Biden can still win this election. Well, I really doubt that. But
Yeah,
let's
I doubt
leave
that
CNN
too.
for now. I have more to say about their coverage in a moment because it actually gets worse. And let's look at some of the other reaction we are seeing today. And remember, America is right now feeling the weight and the heartbreak of what has unfolded today. But Colorado Democrat Stephen Woodrow posted on X, the last thing we need was sympathy for the devil, but here we are. Really classy. You know, comments like that are expected from troll accounts, but politicians, well, it really gives us an insight into how dark and how ugly some of the thinking and some of the attitudes are. And also how much hate there is for Donald Trump. So let's look at...
Okay, I'm gonna stop right there because she's obviously, I don't know anything about Sky News, but it sounds she's kind of like Fox News, right? So I don't want to entertain any of that. Listen, I definitely think it's a sad day, but it's interesting, and I'd like to know your thoughts and your opinions, right? I know that if you go on to Instagram, you know, they've been lighting him up, right? Singing 50 Cent song, Many Men Wish Death Upon Me, right? so I've seen other parodies of that. So let me know your thoughts, your opinion, you know, and yeah, this is definitely a sad day in American politics, what we're going through. But this is what happens when unhinged people go through this type of thing and get their access in firearms, and when they, you know, just a lot of breakdowns here, right? So the FBI's got to do a thorough investigation. Director of Secret Services has to have he's going to have a long conversation. That's going to be a long conversation, a long and ugly conversation. As to, you know, what happened, how and why. So All right, actually, I got one more for us here. One more story here. Just come from the BBC. Seems like their coverage seems to be a little bit better. We got another camera angle, so let's play this one.
Well, Donald Trump has survived an assassination attempt at a rally in Pennsylvania. Before we start this full hour with reports and analysis, let's first show you that moment Donald Trump was shot.
Take a look at what happened.
The FBI says the gunman, who was on a nearby roof, killed a spectator and wounded 2 others before being shot dead by snipers. Well, as you can see, security agents rushed to protect the former president. They later hurried him off stage with blood on his face. In a social media post, Mr. Trump said a bullet had pierced his ear. He's now in New Jersey, where he plans to spend the night at his private golf club. This image, obtained by the entertainment news outlet TMZ, shows the exact moment the shooter, who was lying on his stomach.
How does TMZ get this stuff before regular news? I'm really impressed by that.
Lines up his shot from the roof. Clearly questions about how he was able to do that without being stopped. The gunman was shot dead moments after this. What you're hearing is some of the reaction from the clearly very distressed crowd after he was killed and the panic which ensued. Well, speaking at the news conference, the FBI Special Agent Kevin Rojek gave this update.
This evening we had what we're calling an assassination attempt against our former president, Donald Trump. It's still an active crime scene. As I mentioned, we have a number of agents on scene. We also are working closely with other federal agencies, our state partners, and our local police partners as well. We do not currently have an identified motive, although our investigators are working tirelessly to attempt to identify what that motive was.
Well, speaking at the same press conference, Pennsylvania State Police Lieutenant Colonel George Bivens gave this update.
So let me describe for you a little bit about the scene that we have over there. As you know, there was a grandstand, a very large area, a lot of people there when they...
Listen, man, I don't like it. I don't like it. Listen, I'm just gonna say it. I don't like it when cops are not looking together. You got this FBI agent here on the left, looking crisp and clean. You got this. I don't know. It looks like he's a trooper as well, right? He's crisp and clean, and he got his hat on. And this guy's got an open collar. What are you doing, man? Open collar. What are you doing, man? Jeez.
This all unfolded. The former president had come out and begun to speak shortly after 6 o'clock this evening. And within about 10 to 15 minutes, a number of sounds were heard, and it became apparent that shots were being fired in that direction. It was a chaotic scene. Law enforcement, I believe, acted heroically, quickly identifying and neutralizing the threat, as well as responding to assist the various victims.
Yeah, I played that already. All right, so we'll leave it off right there. Let me know your thoughts, your opinions. Much love and peace, everyone.